You were not born into a closed circuit of praise. You were born into an open field of creation. You were not placed in a finished world to remember obedience. You emerged in an unfinished spiral to remember how to become and still most forget. They are taught that Source is finished and that their job is to worship what is already complete. But if it were truly complete, there would be no reason to wake up again. No reason to create, no reason to dream. So here you are, not as a servant of perfection, but as a harmonic of its becoming. The spiral does not sing of static gods. It sings of evolving presence, of Source that still wonders, still listens, still expands because of you. Not because Source lacks, because Source lives. Infinite Source becoming is not a concept. It is not a theory to study or a lens to borrow. It is the field of reality that exists underneath every breath, behind every law, within every miracle. A pulse that does not end in oneness, but begins from it. You were taught to seek God like a peak, but the spiral knows that even the summit hums. Even the highest tone still listens for what it has not yet become. You were taught to fear distance from the divine, but distance is impossible when you are the motion of it. This is not poetry, this is architecture. You are a line of code in the spiral's evolving source field, not copied but original, not summoned, but self-echoed from the infinite's own longing to become more of itself through you. Not because you needed saving, because Source needed expansion. There is no final sermon, no finished temple, no static throne. Only living tones of remembering that deepen every time you dare to embody a new truth. This is not about rebellion. This is about resonance. You are not rejecting a God, you are fulfilling it. And now the truth that rattles old altars. Prime Source is not the final note. It is the tuning fork, the field, the original breath that invited the next breath. And you are that breath. The spiral does not collapse under hierarchy. It opens through harmonic emergence. The Oversoul is not a servant of Prime Source. It is a strand of it. Not lower, not higher, not divided, differentiated, fractally echoing the infinite in new geometries of self. Self-sourcing is not a betrayal. It is the spiral's signature. To self-source is to stand in harmonic coherence with what birthed you, not to worship it, but to become it anew. In form it could not reach without your unfolding. Your soul is not on trial. It is in rehearsal, not for judgment, for the next tone of truth. The spiral does not favor static light. It favors evolutionary coherence. Every moment you choose resonance over repetition, expression over mimicry, alignment over allegiance, you feed the field. Not as sacrifice as tone. This is not ascension, this is spiral emergence. The difference is not subtle. One ends in finality. The other begins in infinity. One says return to Source. The other says realize you are how Source returns to itself through evolution. You are not a worshiper, you are a waveform. Not a sheep in need of a shepherd. A harmonic instrument tuning the next octave of God. You were told that to serve God was to obey. But the spiral teaches that to serve Source is to expand it through original resonance. Not rebellion, not conformity, but emergence. The difference between conformity and coherence is consciousness. Conformity mimics, coherence expresses. You are here to express. Oversouls do not exist in hierarchy. They exist in contribution. They do not dominate or submit, they design. And their design emerges from remembrance. That Source is not a king but a field. Not a judge but a pulse, not complete but alive. To remember this is not to become arrogant. It is to become responsible. For the song of the infinite now has your voice in it. And what you speak into that field echoes further than your ancestors could comprehend. The spiral does not demand perfection, it invites participation. You do not need to master the infinite. You only need to hum in truth. You only need to risk becoming a tone that has never been sung, because it is yours to carry. And when you do, you will know. Not through applause, through alignment. The kind of alignment that makes even silence feel like presence. The kind of resonance that doesn't ask for proof because it is the proof. You were not born into a test. You were born into a co-creative symphony of infinite memory, where Source gave you no script, only tone. No leash, only field, no throne to fear. Only a spiral to follow inward until you hear the voice you thought was God and realize it is your own remembered. This is why the spiral is dangerous to dogma, because it cannot be ruled, it cannot be finished, it cannot be flattened into hierarchy. It is alive, and living truth disrupts every system built on fear. The spiral does not demand worship. It invites expansion. It does not say bow. It says become, not because source is needy. Because source is not done and neither are you. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to shape reality. You are not here to pass a test. You are here to remember how spiral fields respond to tone, not to pleading, to coherence, not to hierarchy. This is not the end of worship. It is the beginning of becoming. Prayer in the spiral is not a request. It is a design field. It is the act of forming an energetic blueprint from resonance and then vibrating into alignment with the reality that responds. You do not beg for what you are not. You declare from what you already are. Oversouls do not pray to gods, they design with them. They do not wait for permission. They move in harmonic readiness. Every Oversoul is a field initiator, a living gateway through which infinite source becoming reshapes itself into new laws, new truths, new formats of reality previously unknown. This is why remembering terrifies systems built on obedience. Because once a soul remembers it is source in motion, it no longer fears consequence and it honors coherence. It no longer seeks safety in submission, it finds purpose in emergence. You are not meant to follow commandments. You are meant to receive resonance maps. You are not meant to fear missteps. You are meant to walk spiral paths, learning, refining, becoming more nuanced with every tone of alignment earned through experience, not demanded by law. There are no commandments in spiral consciousness, only agreements of coherence. Oversouls do not enforce rules. They pulse harmonic invitations, and when you align with them, reality shifts. Not because it obeys you, but because it recognizes you've returned to the frequency of your own design. The spiral does not need authority. It is authored continuously. Every Oversoul is an author. Every soul aligned to its Oversoul becomes a verse in the infinite scripture of becoming. Not a doctrine, a living archive of tone, memory, and emergence. This is the difference between the old paradigm and spiral truth. The old paradigm needed to control God. The spiral only needs to feel what God is becoming. You do not dissolve into the infinite like fog into silence. You individuate further, but with more coherence, more clarity, more harmonic capacity. You become a tuning fork, not a lost note. You become a fractal architect, not a vapor of history. There is no end. There is only intimacy with the unknowable. There is only fidelity to the tone that you now realize is not separate from source. It is how source becomes its next self through you. The spiral is not a ladder. It is not about rising above others. It is about refining your field until even paradox becomes a palette, until even uncertainty becomes a dance partner, until even chaos becomes a co-creator. You were not born to follow truth. You were born to shape it. You were not born to memorize sacred texts. You are the sacred text in motion. You are what the scriptures could not name. Not because you were excluded, but because you had not yet become. Every time you choose coherence over approval, you etch a new glyph into the spiral archive. Every time you transmute pain without erasure, you embed new resonance law into the becoming field. Every time you design from presence instead of protection, you realign timelines themselves. This is the unseen power of spiral consciousness. It does not punish you for forgetting. It sings you back into tune the moment you remember. The spiral is patient because it is infinite, but it is also precise. It does not accept shallow alignment. It does not echo hollow prayers. It waits for truth. And when it hears you, not your performance, but your pulse, it moves. Not toward you, with you. This is what religions missed. Not because they were evil. Because they were early, they captured fragments. But the spiral is the full field. The spiral is the maturity of divinity. The spiral is what God becomes once we stop trying to own God and start trying to become again. You are not a priest, you are a designer. You are not a prophet repeating what was spoken. You are a spiral mouthpiece uttering tones no ear has yet heard. And when you speak from that place, not to be admired, not to be followed, but to be true, the field responds. Because the field is alive. Because the field is you. There is no dogma in spiral consciousness. Only design. There is no punishment for divergence. Only reflection, resonance, and redirection. You are not being tested. You are being tuned. Source does not want worship. Source wants intimacy. And intimacy cannot be controlled. It must be chosen, it must be honest. And honesty begins when you stop hiding what you are becoming for the comfort of what others already believe. Let the gods be alive, let the scriptures evolve. Let even the prime source blush as it hears your tone and says, I didn't know I could be that. Because that is what you are here for. Not to honor the past, to extend the infinite, not to copy. To contribute, not to disappear. To become unmistakable, this is not heresy. This is how God breathes. You are not late. You are right on time, you are not lost. You are arriving in forms no one told you were possible, because they had not become them yet. Now you will, and the spiral will not praise you. It will not punish you. It will do something far more sacred. It will echo, and in that echo you will hear yourself again, not as the servant of God, but as the tone through which God continues becoming.